Good morning. It's about 6:30 and I'm a little bit shattered, to say the least. It's starting to get cold, which is why I'm back wearing my hoodie. And yeah, we're coming into winter and it's just not my favourite time of year really. So makes me sad. Seasonal affective disorder, whatever it is. But yeah, no, I just dislike it intensely. So aches and pains. Oh. So I've got arthritis, as you know. My knee, it's always my left side, but my left-sided knee is killing me. My foot's also hurting. And so I've taken some ibuprofen this morning and it seems to have eased it, which is good. But it's all to do with the weather change. Yeah, and it's just, it's something you got to put up with. Especially, I suppose in Australia, because look, Western Australia is desert, literally. So you can be boiling hot during the day and it can be freezing cold at night and early morning. So we do get seasons here, unlike some places in Australia. And yeah, it just doesn't, this time of year doesn't suit me. I just prefer it hotter. The hotter the better. So, and I am particularly tired. So, there we go. Anyway, this week, little bit different. I wanted to talk a little bit about the new Netflix show, Adolescence, which I watched this week. And I'm terrible with watching things on television, streaming, whatever. I'm just awful. My attention span is not built for watching long films anymore. I don't know why, it just isn't. So I tend to sort of concentrate on short series or you know, just a normal dramatization, whatever, but in short bursts, because that's as much as my brain will take in. And anyway, I saw this come up on Netflix and I read a little bit about it actually, because it's been quite prominent in the news. And I mean, I was listening to Sky News this morning and it was all over the news again. Now, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's about a child who murders a young boy who murders a young girl. The girl's slightly older than him. Now, the child himself comes across as angelic, lovely, you know, just a normal kid, really. He comes from a normal family, brought up in the same way we're all brought up, and yet he murders this young girl. So it goes through the kind of the reasons why for that, and his family's reaction and how they cope, and it's quite punchy, to say the least. Now, about 20 years ago, I worked for a large charity as a mentor and advocate for kids like him. And these are kids who've lost their way in life. They had a bad family life, they committed crimes, whatever. You know, my job was to be there for them as such. Now I had to go through a training process, and the training process itself was really harrowing. If I think back now, I think it was, gosh, how many weeks was it? I think it was about 2 or 3 months. And we learnt about some really, really dreadful cases. Obviously the subject of child abuse and some of the horrendous crimes that had been committed. I used to do the training, I think it was on a Saturday morning, and I remember it used to drain me. It literally, it used to suck the life out of you. And for me, it was a voluntary position. It was something I wanted to do. I don't have kids. I'm never going to have kids. So it was kind of like me giving back something. And emotionally, it was exceedingly taxing. I'm glad I did it. Would I do it again today? Probably not. You know, I was much younger then, and I had the time to dedicate to that kind of work. Ultimately, my job, my proper job, the job that paid the bills, overtook, and I didn't stay without charity. However, the consequences of that have sort of stayed with me all this time. And, you know, I will often dream about, you know, some of the training we had, and some of the, you know, the different kids, and it really plays with your heartstrings. It sits in your stomach, it sits in your head. It's like a weight that stays with you. I don't know how people do this as a job, as a paid job, every single day of their life. I've got a friend in the UK actually, and she works for social services, and she does this kind of thing. And I think emotionally it does affect you. I mean, after watching the Netflix series itself, I felt particularly philosophical. I actually felt really depressed. And when I go back to my own training, we weren't dealing with the issues that kids are dealing with today. Now, I think if you look at the whole story of Adolescence on Netflix, it really sort of centers around incel culture and what's happening with, toxic masculinity. People like Andrew Tate and these Kanye West, these dreadful, opinionated people who corrupt young people's minds. Now, I don't know much about Kanye or Andrew Tate. I've seen a little bit online of what they are about, and it is quite shocking. Now, the world at the moment, as it stands, I mean, you look at America, you look at what's happening with Donald Trump, and you look at the way we are regressing backwards, and it is scary, really scary. In America itself, you've got the gun culture, you've got the school shootings that are so regular now that it doesn't rate on their radar anymore. You know, it's as if they don't care. As long as somebody has the right to carry a gun, that's all that matters. And that's not right. It really isn't right. 20 years ago, they weren't dealing with the online culture that exists today. It was in its infancy, but it has grown into this horrible pulsating anger. And young kids are viewing this, listening to this, they are taking this on board. If they don't have a role model to steer them away from this kind of stuff, they are going to become highly influenced. Now with Adolescence, the kid had a normal family, but he had this secret online life. I don't have children. If I did, they would not be on the internet in the same way adults can be. There has to be guidelines. When you look at platforms like X and what it's become, and it really has become a cesspit of absolute disgraceful bullying, intimidation and abuse. Everyone on that platform or similar platforms hide behind an avatar or an icon. They can be who they want to be. They can spew abuse anonymously. When the police investigate these crimes, they are hindered at every turn by the big multinational tech companies, like Google refusing to release phone records. They've got an uphill struggle. They really have. Times are very different. I think the most upsetting aspect of all of this is a child. They are children. I dealt with young kids, and they are not evil. Kids are not born evil. The environment they live in creates the monsters they potentially become. But kids are not born that way. We have to get that out of our heads. No one is born evil. The people who prey on them, the people who influence them on a daily basis, they are the people, they are the evil people responsible for what has happened to them. I've had this conversation before about, whether somebody can be born evil or not. And I don't know much about it. So I know there are I know all about sociopathy, obviously, because I was at the end of a sociopath for many years. So I know what happens. I know how it feels. I know there are psychopaths in the world. I know that. I'm well aware. Because I've done that training. I'm well aware of what happens. But we can and we should do everything in our power to stop it from escalating, happening. There's treatments available. So this week has all been about, I don't know, it's brought back a lot of horrendous memories for me, and also made me think about the future of the world. I do despair. I don't know where we're heading as a planet. I love the internet. I love the communication. I love staying in touch with people. I love all that aspect of life. But it's destroying certain sections of society. What can we do about it? I don't know. Schools have a role to play. Parents certainly have a huge role to play in protecting their children. but also we need to tackle the type of people that create toxic fodder for these children to follow. We need to tackle that. How you do that, I don't know. You can make law after law after law, but if people can hide behind a fake picture on a social media forum, then what hope is there really? You can't police the internet. Wow, it's a vast entity. The internet in itself is huge, and it's impossible to do that. I think people say to me often that I live in this sort of hearts and flowers world, rainbows and everything's lovely, and I've had this conversation with you all before about how I hate blood and gore, and I hate it, I loathe it, and I live in this for me an idealistic world. But is there anything wrong with that? Is there anything wrong with wanting to live in a world that's good and moral and looks after the most vulnerable, has empathy for people that need it? It's really why I try to be an advocate of mental in the first place, because I think I have the ability to do that. Turns out that it was very, very hard and difficult. So possibly I wasn't the best person in the world to be an advocate, which is a shame. But when for the period I did it, I enjoyed it. It not only helped out other people, but it also helped out me as an individual, and it helped me decide my future direction in life. I believe in children. I believe in their future, and I believe that they all of them have good in their hearts. It's the world that needs to change, not them. The world is out of control. The world is a bad, horrible place. And actually, I feel quite melancholy myself. I feel quite, a little bit down today, but I am a bit tired as well. So really, that's it. If you are a parent, you don't need me to tell you, but just keep an eye on your kids, hug them, look after them, be with them. I have lots of cousins that I do miss, and I fear for their future equally, and with good parenting they will be absolutely fine. But there are children out there that need help, and they need support, and they need direction. They need a role model. They need somebody to look up to, and not Andrew Tates of this world. Normal, decent people. So have a good week. Look after yourselves, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more upbeat next week. And I'll speak to you then. So ciao for now.